Hello, my name is Nana Acheampong. I am the Vice President of Human Resources. Welcome to my presentation on examining the link between flexible working arrangements and staff retention. Madam CEO and board members present, I would like to commend the CEO for her timely intervention to address the staff retention problem confronting this organization. In a bid to effectively address staff turnover, which has mainly been attributed to absence of a work-life balance in our companies worldwide, I was tasked with providing data that will help management make informed decisions on the need to create a flexible work environment which facilitates a positive work-life balance by reducing work-family conflict in particular and increasing staff satisfaction in general. Ladies and gentlemen, in view of that, I will call your attention to the purpose of this presentation. This presentation seeks to evaluate evidence from two articles that shed light on the current business problem faced by Locus Innovation in respect of labor turnover. The articles are Flexible Working and Performance, a systematic review of evidence for a business case 2011, and Employee Well-being and the HRM Organizational Performance Relationship, a review of quantitative studies 2012 by de Menezes and Kelleher and Van de Voorde respectively. This presentation also focuses on a comparative analysis of the two studies using a benchmark to assess the relevance, quality, and utility of evidence in extant literature, which may serve as a guide for decision-making by the Board of Locus Innovation. The goal of the comparative analysis is to identify the study whose findings are fit for purpose, that is, relevant to answering the question at hand, by informing the decision of the CEO and management on the creation of a flexible workplace environment in order to improve staff retention and boost Locus's performance worldwide. Consequently, three actionable recommendations, which are derived from this study, are submitted to the board for consideration. Madam CEO and board members present, the rapidly changing organizational environment in the 21st century, characterized by technological advancements among others, has led to an increased demand for information systems and technology. However, the greatest challenge confronting most organizations today is retaining their human resources. For instance, information systems and technology have been identified as one of the most problematic turnover fields for most organizations. Benthal and Wellens, 2001. In this technology-driven organizational environment, the long-term health and wealth of organizations are contingent upon the retention of talented employees. Cutler, 2001, underscores the challenge of today's management in retaining the skilled and valuable employees through responsive human resource management systems. Employee retention is defined by the Workforce Planning for Wisconsin State Government 2005 as a systematic effort to create and foster an environment that encourages employees to remain employed by having policies and practices in place that address their diverse needs. A host of factors such as career development, job security, employee engagement, work-life balance, etc., undermine employee retention. Work-life balance has been ranked second as one of the most valuable retention factors by employees and ranked fifth by human resource professionals, Benthal and Wellens, 2001. Work-life balance can be explained as the effective reconciliation between professional and personal responsibilities. Today's challenges, ranging from family problems, changes in business hours, and uncertain labor market, among others, have necessitated the pursuit of work-life balance for both employees and employers. Employee retention is problematic due to the failure of most organizations to implement employee-friendly policies such as flexible working practices, which fulfill employees' demands for work-life balance. Das and Barua, 2013. Flexible working practices include telecommuting, compressed working weeks, and voluntary part-time, among others. Employees who have their work demands fulfilled are happy, motivated, and more dedicated to their work and to achieving organizational goals. The needs-based theory provides a general theoretical framework for investigating labor-related issues such as high turnover in organizations. Abraham Maslow's theory on hierarchy of needs is one of such theoretical frameworks that provides useful insight for understanding the staff retention problem at Locus Innovation. The hierarchy of needs theory, 1943, posits that employees have needs and will perform when their lower and higher needs are met. So in the absence of needs fulfillment, employee disengagement will rise, satisfaction with work will decline, and consequently, employee turnover will increase. At the apex of the needs hierarchy are self-actualization needs, which involves opportunities to exercise authority over employees' work, participation in decision-making, and definition of one's own processes for meeting organizational goals. At Locus, the absence of work-life balance, which has been identified by exiting employees as the main causal factor of employee turnover, reflects employees' demands in a general sense for more work flexibility, which will minimize work-family conflict and increase satisfaction. Anderson et al., 2002. This points to the urgent need for flexible working practices to enable employees balance their personal and professional obligations. Providing staff with a flexible working environment will grant them the opportunity to exercise authority over how, when, and where they want to do their work. What Maslow's hierarchy of needs suggests is that high involvement HR policies geared at improving work-life balance, when implemented in a supportive context, enables employees experience a sense of control over their work and also create a positive culture that boosts employee job satisfaction and improve retention. Any decision to provide flexible working environment must be evidence-based management practice, which focuses on applying evidence research into solving organizational problems. Our next focus is on article evaluation using the weight of evidence framework. Evidence-based management involves making informed decisions based on critical evaluation of the best available research evidence. To provide evidentiary value to management decision, evidence from the two review articles was evaluated using Gauss' weight of evidence framework. This evidence quality evaluation formed the basis of the comparative analysis of the two articles to determine their fitness of purpose. Gauss, 2007, observed that in determining the quality and relevance of evidence, question-specific quality and relevance criteria are used to determine the weight of evidence of a research study. Gauss' weight of evidence framework focuses on three categories. Each of the categories was assigned a quality rating of high, medium, and low. I assign more importance to category A, which focuses on rigor and transparency. This is because rigor and transparency in a systematic review process enhances the reliability, utility, and/or relevance of the review findings. Category A focuses on the general quality of the execution of the review. I assess the rigor of the method. Rigor was measured by the transparency of the research method, the comprehensive description of reproducible method, adequate description of analysis, and the appropriateness of research methods to the research purpose. For category B, which focuses on specific judgment on appropriateness and relevance of review design and methods. I assess the suitability of research design and approach used in answering the review question. Category C also focuses on specific judgment on the research question. Here, I assess each review on the relevance of on answering the review question. Comparative analysis of articles is our next focus. Weight of evidence, category A. Menezes and Kelleher's review article demonstrated clarity in terms of purpose statement, identification of knowledge gaps, and comprehensiveness of studies reviewed. Page 452 to 455. Although 256 pieces of literature were included in the initial sample, a further rigorous selection pruned it down to 148 relevant studies for the final analysis. Page 454 to 455. In terms of theoretical frameworks and conceptual definitions, the article provides sufficient detail in a way that provides clear interpretation of results. The detailed explication of database types, keyword selection, and criteria for inclusion and exclusion attest to the study's high rating on transparency and rigorous methodology. The research purpose statement, which is the most important statement of the entire study, is well articulated, specific, and informative, and conveys the central intent of the review. The research question, page 453, is clear and informs readers of the entire review. It also serves as a framework of the review process and provides clarity to readers on the variables to be investigated and the relationship among them. The authors conducted a systematic and exhaustive study selection which reflects the research question. The search strategy was reproducible and study appraisal was based on explicit eligibility criteria. The large sample of 148 studies using diverse research approaches and designs, as well as the use of surveys and interviews, all reflect authors' pragmatic worldview. Review method reveals studies' assumption that combining both quantitative and qualitative approaches provides a more complete understanding of the research problem. The method used also highlighted the researcher's epistemological position on reality. The pragmatic view flows from the notion that the aim of research is to seek solutions to real-world problems by making use of the best method that will provide evidence that is generalizable. The authors also used a mixed method synthesis which was transparent and understandable. The authors also used a mixed method synthesis which was transparent and understandable. Conclusions flowed from the findings and they reflected the research method. A balanced discussion of findings and implications for further inquiry points to further rigor in scholarly approach. This enhances credibility of findings. The review also demonstrates a clear alignment between investigative approach and research question. The Menezes and Kelleher provided an adequate description of a transparent, extensive, and reproducible method. Consequently, this article was rated as high in terms of rigor. The article, Employee Wellbeing and the HRM Organizational Performance Relationship, a review of quantitative studies by Van de Voorde et al., received a medium rating in terms of rigor. Although Van de Voorde et al.'s review demonstrated transparency in terms of search strategy, the discussion focused exclusively on criteria for inclusion. Unlike the Menezes and Kelleher's, there was no express discussion of exclusionary factors. There was also lack of comprehensiveness regarding the coverage of existing studies on the subject matter. More so, the definition of key concepts such as human resource management lacked specificity, page 393. In total, 36 research studies formed the basis of analysis and conclusion by the researchers. Selection process excluded a reproducible search strategy, with authors focused on bibliographic search only. Selection bias occurred as a result of limiting study search and selection to only peer-reviewed journals and excluding non-indexed journals. Researchers positivist critical realism epistemological stance is evidenced by choice of review approach, designs, which is longitudinal and cross-sectional designs, and data collection methods, which were survey method, interviews, observation, etc. The researcher's critical realist viewpoint was informed by the research question. The critical realists believe that absolute truth can never be found and that objectivity is a social phenomenon. The positivist view holds that knowledge is shaped by our perceptions, and so there is an emphasis on the numeric measurement of observation. The aggregation of various studies and the use of aggregative synthesis without a meta-analysis due to lack of homogeneity of study characteristics constitutes a source of bias that threatens the validity of the findings. The study, however, provides useful insight on theoretical perspectives and conceptual frameworks that guided the inquiry. For category B, the Menezes and Kelleher's review scored a medium rating. The authors justifiably use comparative and cross-sectional designs to establish associational links between flexible working arrangements and organizational outcomes in line with the review's question, which was to determine the relationship between flexible working arrangements and performance-related outcomes. The Menezes and Kelleher, 2012, page 453. However, the use of comparative and cross-sectional designs renders impossible any attempt to establish causality. More so, by not limiting the study to one research design, the authors attempted to offset the limitation of one with the other. In some of the studies reviewed, Dex and Skybel, 1999, Glass and Finley, 2002, Groover and Crocker, 1995, the use of subjective measures of performance and self-reports in individual studies undermine the overall quality of the evidence. This notwithstanding, focus on investigating the link between flexible working arrangement and the organizational performance measures such as retention is directly relevant to labor turnover question at Locus Innovation. Indeed, at least 6 of the studies made specific commentary on the impact of flexible working arrangement on retention. For instance, Rothhausen, 1994, Glass and Riley, 1998, Lewis et al., 2001. The review by Van de Voorde and colleagues scored a low rating for category B on appropriateness and relevance of review designs. In terms of appropriateness, the use of longitudinal design in some of the primary studies allows for the establishment of causation, page 401. The appropriate use of longitudinal design made it possible to identify and describe the nature of the relationship between HRM, well-being, and organizational outcomes. The design provides evidence of a causal relationship, specifically a forward and reverse causality between HRM and employee well-being, page 401. Furthermore, the choice of a configurative synthesis made it difficult to statistically determine the strength of the relationship between the variables. More so, an aggregative synthesis would have been appropriate to address the issue of heterogeneity and also giving more weight to the evidence. However, Tranfel, Daniel, and Smart 2003 contend that The heterogeneity of studies prevents the pooling of results and measurement of net effectiveness. This means that the issue of bias caused by heterogeneity can only be addressed in aggregative reviews and synthesis if contextual differences arising from the role played by intervening variables, which are mediators and moderators, are accounted for. Hunter and Schmidt, 1990. The major shortcoming of this study is on the issue of relevance. The study focuses on investigating the mediating role of employee well-being between human resource management and organizational outcomes from two competing theoretical perspectives, mutual gains and conflicting outcomes. Within the context of Locus Innovation's urgent business problem, this approach offers limited insight into causes of high labor turnover. In fact, the conceptual definitions of well-being, which focus on health, happiness and relationships, and organizational performance, which focus on operational and financial outcomes, is beyond the focus of the impending management decision at Locus Innovation. Again, the exclusive focus on quantitative studies only limits any attempt to understand how and why well-being leads to organizational performance in general, assuming we were even interested in organizational performance per se to guide decision making at Locus Innovation. In respect of category C, de Menezes and Kelleher's review scored a medium rating on the research question. Although the framing of the research question was broad and vague on the face of it, a careful review of keywords and concepts, see page 453 to 454, provides some contextual similarity with the current situation at Locus Innovation. The variables of interest in this study were flexible working arrangements and performance-related outcomes. Performance-related outcomes, as defined by the researchers, are organizational performance, which focuses on financial performance, productivity and labor turnover, and individual performance, which deals with absenteeism, job satisfaction, organizational commitment, and job-related well-being. The inclusion of labor turnover at the organizational level allows for a disaggregated analysis in a way that provides useful guidance for the decision faced by the Locus Innovation Board on the problem of high labor turnover. In this wise, therefore, the research question, broadly considered, provides contextual relevance for Locus Innovation. On the other hand, an argument can also be made that the heterogeneity and wide variances which characterize the conclusions drawn by various studies as reviewed by de Menezes and Kelleher is a result of the broad framing of the research question. This is evident in the conclusion that the literature does not clearly demonstrate an unequivocal business case for offering employees choice over working arrangements. See page 467. This mixed result adversely affects the generalizability and therefore the wholesale application of the findings to the Locus Innovation problem. Van de Voorde et al.'s review scored low rating for three reasons. A, the research question was framed broadly. B, the key variables of interest, that is human resource management, well-being and organizational performance, were not sufficiently broad in their definitions to include specific outcomes such as labor turnover. C, the conceptual definition of human resource management lacked specificity. The reviewers justified this by arguing that working with a specific definition of HRM in terms of fixed set of commonly used HR practices would be restrictive. See page 393. So, not only are the key variables of interest, which are happiness, relationship, and health, as discussed in the review, inconsistent with the preliminary diagnosis derived from Locus Innovation employee exit data, but the vagueness of key concepts such as HRM makes this systematic review From a research question viewpoint, a weak source of evidence to guide decision making on the issue of labor turnover at Locus Innovation. Finally, there are two important limitations that make the review by Van der Voorde et al. Non-generalizable. First, the number of studies available in existing HRM literature that examines health-related well-being and performance outcomes is woefully inadequate compared to other measures of well-being. This indirectly impacted the sample used in the review. Secondly, 7 of the 6 studies reviewed provided more than one data point. The implication, which is acknowledged by Van der Voorde et al., 2012, page 402, is that the inclusion of multiple data points from a single study means that not all data points provide independent evidence regarding the research question. These notwithstanding, the results of the article review clearly demonstrate that well-being has a positive mediating effect on organizational performance. That is the mutual gains, although health-related well-being showed adverse relationship with organizational performance, which is the conflicting outcomes. The conclusion derived from the evidence reviewed by Van der Voorde et al., 2012, clearly suggests that sound human resource systems have a positive impact on organizational outcomes through improved well-being of employees. This fact cannot be ignored by Locus Innovation in its broader consideration of how to create a flexible work environment that reduces work-family conflict. Overall evaluation and justification of choice. Weight of evidence, category D. The systematic review article, Flexible Working and Arrangement and Performance, a systematic review of evidence for a business case, 2011, received an overall medium quality rating. The second systematic review article, Employee Well-being and the HRM Organizational Performance Relationship, a review of quantitative studies 2012, received an overall low quality rating. Table 1 provides a summary evaluation report on the two systematic review articles. Overall assessment. Although both reviews have shortcomings on all 3 evaluation criteria, de Menezes and Kelleher present a compelling case in terms of relevance and contextual similarity with circumstances at Locus Innovation. The nature of linkage examined by de Menezes and Kelleher's article considers the specific issue of retention and flexible working arrangements, which, more than Van der Voorde's review article, approximates the current human resource problem faced by Locus Innovation. The point must be made, however, that the review by Van der Voorde et al. Provides some broad insights that may be useful for decision-making by the board of Locus Innovation. However, since the focus of quality assessment of both reviews is about determining their fitness for purpose, appropriateness and relevance of review design, methodology and applicability, the article by Van der Voorde et al., in view of the above assessment, is disqualified by reason of lacking evidential quality and operational utility. It therefore lacks fitness for purpose. A review of quantitative studies failed to demonstrate clearly relevance to the current challenge faced by Locus Innovation and therefore lacks contextual proximity. Notwithstanding the conclusion by de Menezes and Kelleher that the evidence reviewed overall failed to support a business case for employee-driven flexible working arrangement, a careful disaggregation of the evidence points to a positive linkage between flexible working arrangements and retention. The review may still be of value even if it lacks conclusive evidence, especially if the question addressed is important. Kahn 1998 argues that the issue of inferences and whether findings should be considered conclusive or not is review steady and context dependent. Furthermore, the multiple level of analysis in terms of performance revealed interesting links between flexible working arrangements and individual performance measures such as absenteeism, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment. There is evidence also to suggest that perception of availability of flexible working arrangement reduces intent to quit. For instance, Bad and Valku 2003 found that access to schedule flexibility predicted lower turnover intention. In conclusion, evidence from the review by De Menezes and Kelleher makes the case for consideration of flexible working arrangement, albeit with three important caveats. The scheme must be employee-driven and not imposed. Secondly, options must include both formal and informal types of flexible working arrangement. Finally, individual flexible working arrangement must be targeted and customized to the needs and characteristics of certain employee profiles. Implementation of human resource policies and practices such as employee engagement, career development, and a culture that supports work-life balance through flexible working arrangements will positively impact organizational performance outcomes such as low turnover and productivity. This affirms the mutual gains theory of human resource management. Finally, our key recommendations are the following. Engage an independent consultant to conduct employee opinion survey with special focus on employee profiling, cultural fit, job satisfaction, and well-being. The results from this report would inform management decision on the best approach to HRM strategy development at the business level. Secondly, commission a diverse project team with the express purpose of developing a checklist test for identifying employees with high labor flight risk. An internal circular announcing this initiative will create a perception of management responsiveness and help moderate the employee's exit intention. Project deliverables must include a proposal on how to implement schedule flexibility, teleworking, and compressed work time, having regard for Locus's innovation, business model, and market realities. Finally, invest in the development of an ICT-based human resource management system that enables effective tracking of employee sentiment on a regular and continuous basis. This will allow for proactive decisions to stem the tide on adverse development before they reach crisis level. Madam CEO and board members present, thank you for your kind attention. I hope this presentation will help management make informed decisions on improving staff retention.